Anthrax here with another episode of The Bloody Point. Today I'm going to demonstrate something which will help you in upgrading your gear. It's kind of a bit of an abuse of current game mechanics and what's going on. You can see that I have all rare gear now, so I'm going through the long process of upgrading that gear, which requires you to have growth stones and currency with which to do that. So this is going to be done using three things. The first would be the contracts. And what we're looking to do here is find contracts where you don't have to engage in combat, but where you just have to harvest or interact with something in a particular area. Usually you'll see a number of these things, whether it's harvesting a resource or interacting with something on the ground, like a in-story mission item. And if you don't have any of those, then you take something else which is, in the same region, and then you refresh. So here I have two so far. Now it's not just a question of getting the missions that give you the requirement or the goal that you want. You also want the reward to be useful. So ideally we're looking for the lithographs. You can also go for spell books if you find one for your chosen weapons, or in a worst case scenario, go for the materials. You will need those as well. So it may take you some time, some refreshing to get the right combination. The other thing you're looking for are contracts which have the same objective mob if you do go for mob kills. Because one of the things that the game does, which is not the case in all MMOs, is if you have, say, 2 contracts to kill 14 orc soldiers, and each kill will count towards both totals. You don't have to kill 28, you only have to kill 14. So it's very efficient, and anytime you have the opportunity to do that, you should. So as you can see, I have 4 which have non-kill requirements and 1 which does. So I need just to fill out the last one, the 5th one. Let's see what's suitable here. That's a similar kill objective as one of my previous ones. So that'll allow me to be efficient with that. Okay, so we have the contracts that we want. Again, these are somewhat RNG. You may have to refresh a few times, and you may have to settle for a reward that you don't necessarily want, but everything will be used eventually. Okay, so let's head into the zone. The second thing that you're going to be using to achieve this is to take advantage of the presence of the bots. Now, the bots are pretty terrible for the game overall. They allow players to acquire certain things in quantity and kind of impact the economy of the marketplace. They also make it difficult to succeed in events, but we're going to use them to our advantage here. So the first thing we're going to do is mark out our path for the different contracts. You can see you can use the interface on the right. It highlights the objective areas in the target region, and I'm just going to put down waypoints so I can kind of make somewhat of an efficient path through the zone. Some of them, in the case of the non-kill objectives, they have multiple locations you can find the interactables in, so I'm going to mark those. I don't need to mark them all if I have some in proximity to previous objectives. You can see the larger circle is for the gathering just in the zone. It marks the region border, essentially. All right, so one more to go. Just want to see which one that is. Okay. Yeah, I've got one of those. So it's going to be... Yeah, I'll find them basically when I get closer. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be using the bots to our advantage. One of the things that these kill quests do is that you don't actually have to kill the mob, you only have to tag the mob. And you'll notice that the mobs have the contract designator above their heads. So all I need to do is locate a cluster of bots, as you can see quite telltale there, and then aggro or tag the mobs, and then let the bots kill them. Now I could kill them myself, but this is much more time efficient doing it this way. Especially when you're the goal is to grind out the contracts as fast as possible. Now, keep in mind, there are some people who say you shouldn't be using the contracts before a certain level, don't use them below a certain value, but you do get a refresh on the contract tokens, and your goal here, once you hit 50, is to upgrade your gear and your skills. So you shouldn't worry about saving the contracts necessarily. So you'll notice if you look in the right, in the tracker on the right, you'll see that I am getting credit. Even though I'm not killing the mobs, I'm just tagging them. So my goal here is just to aggro them, bring them back towards the cluster of bots. You'll see they get killed off pretty quickly. And this is much faster than if I were to kill them all myself. This is cheesing. This is definitely, this entire thing is definitely cheesing the current system. I suspect that this system will be changed based on the fact that people are doing this. They have specifically attempted to address the bots with some measures, but obviously they haven't been successful. And I imagine that once we move towards global release, NA release, this will either be less of a problem and less available for taking advantage of, or it'll simply be addressed and not be as prevalent. All right. So again, as I mentioned, you can see that the kills are counting in both of the two kill quests, the first and second in the tracker on the right, and we're almost done already. Again, fully aware that this is extreme cheese. I'm completely fine with that. Given that the bots kind of do damage to the environment in terms of the market quality and the open world events, which can generally prevent you from getting rewards. Essentially, there's no way to compete with some of these in the open world events. Then I'm fine with taking advantage of them here. All right, 2 kills to go. There we go. 1 kill actually. All right, so we've completed 1 outright, and we have the kill component for the other done. All that's left is the interactable components for the other quests. So the second portion of this is to make use of the morph system. Not everybody's aware is that the morphs that you get, not the dash ones or the glide ones, but the actual special morphs, these will actually cause mobs of the same type to not aggro you. So here you have to unlock these, of course, first for the region you want to do the contracts in. Well, you'll notice that now that I'm in this morph form, what they call the Infiltrator, there are some quests which reference it as the infiltration mode or OTC, and that's what this is. So you'll see I can freely move around through the camps, get all the way deep into the region to get to my quest objectives without aggro. Except in the case of the one who aggroed me before I changed into the orc. He remembers that I'm actually a human and continue to aggro me, so I'm going to have to deal with this aggro now. Fortunately, there's another cluster of bots here to help with that. Again, depending upon your build, your weapons, your state of upgrade for your skills, and your gear, if you're one-shotting these mobs, doing something like this is probably not as time efficient. You might just go ahead and kill them and get the kill credit as opposed to just tagging, and you'll get loot as well. I'm not too concerned about that. My goal here is just to get as many of these lithographs as possible so I can finish my gear upgrading, get as many spell books as possible to finish my skill upgrades, and I have no problem in foregoing rewards at this point. Alright, so that's taken care of. Let me freeze this guy. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you're in morph form, you can't do all of the movement that you can do otherwise. So you can't jump, you can't dash, obviously, so you're walking a bit slower. You can't grapple, so that's something you have to keep in mind. But specifically for the purposes of these interactables, harvesting, for example, jumping is not generally an issue. The mana recording device is usually up on a ledge or hidden somewhere, so you will have to transform out of this form when you get close enough. which I will demonstrate shortly. Speed this along a little bit, skip ahead. You can see here we have another gatherable, and I use the form to get deeper into the camp. There is an interactable, which is the luring device one. It has different forms in different regions, so the wolf one and the orc one are different, but generally speaking, you interact with something, it attracts mobs around a central location. You have to prevent them from damaging the thing, and if you kill a certain number of waves of mobs, then it changes into something else that you interact with to complete the quest. So that does involve combat. That's a little harder to arrange to avoid, although I do manage that in this one as well. I interacted with it and got mobbed by mobs, and then left and came back when someone else was aggroing them, and I could just finish the second phase. Okay, so you can see I have 3 of the 5 complete. Alright, 4, and I have 1 left, which, as I mentioned, is the interactable for the luring that I had started earlier. I'm just going to head over and finish that off. So this is pretty quick. I did cut out some time here for traveling and aggroing mobs, but generally the concept, I think, as you can see, is viable. And you can use this to get whatever contract reward that you want. So whether it's lithographs or skill books or materials. Again, you do need to unlock the morph form. This is done in some cases through side quests, in other cases through the main story quest line. And you can do the contracts in the region you have the form for. So it's got some flexibility there. All right, this is the last one. As you can see, it's in the second stage. I had done the aggro phase earlier and abandoned it, but it remembered that I'd started it and it was still here to be collected. So there you see the 5, and you have all the rewards. It includes XP rewards if you're not 50 yet, and it also has some coin associated with it and a couple other of the currencies as well. And just an example of what you can achieve here. Here you'll see I have 21 total armor upgrades. I have 3 quests with 7 each, and then I have some weapon upgrades as well. And these are primarily interactable quests and not kill. So some cheese for everybody. I hope you like cheese. Hopefully they keep this in the game for a while at least for us to use it. But there you go. Thanks for watching. See you in game.